Yo, yo, yo. I'm talking about science again. I got this coat on. I don't know if it's a girlish coat. I don't know. My mom got it for me, so I guess not. I don't know. It's cold outside, so I'm going for a walk. But anyway, this is one guy I want to join. Let me get the phone on a charger because my phone's low on battery, dude. You know what I'm saying, dude? You know what I mean, dude? Hold on, this will be in a second. I gotta do some stuff. Science. Oh man, he's not joining yet. This will take a few seconds. I got to do something real quick. Copy. It's not working. Oh, it's working now. I see what I do wrong. I am a goof. I am something that rhymes with goof. Ooh, how do I have to accept your joining, I think. Ooh, I'm gonna have to find out where that button is. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Well, this is odd. I can't hear you through the headphones, but I can hear you through the speaker, so I don't get it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but the headphones aren't working. This is awkward. I was hoping to give you some privacy when you talk, so I just don't get it why the headphones aren't really working. And you're live, so say hi to your parents and all that. Let me get a sip of water. I was expecting a sip of water, even though I drink a whole bunch of water. Like how my dad used to say, let's get a bite to eat, even though we all ate a bunch of food. So, speaking of which, I'm a little chubby, so I gotta go on walks soon. But I'm not that chubby, so it's not the end of the world. But anyways, I guess I can get rid of that. Give me a second, I gotta. Could you say something again to test the audio?
Yes. Can you hear me well? I can hear you well. I can see you. So for my part, no problem.
I can hear you. I'm glad this is finally working. So I'm gonna take the headphones off. All right. I guess to give you a bit of privacy on when you speak, I guess I could go out. No, it's too cold. Never mind. It's really cold and windy. You can hear the wind, can't you? So I'm not the biggest expert on evolution like those other people kind of were, but I think I've got argumentation for it, and I hope it's good. Because if it's not, I'll be a little embarrassed. So you have to stick with me here. You ever heard of genetic similarities?
Well, maybe I would like, rather than to talk about evolution, start another approach if you don't mind. Would that be okay?
I don't know. I mean, what other approach are you talking about? Fossils or something?
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to know, how do you self-describe yourself? An atheist, an agnostic, a strong
Um,
atheist, a weak atheist? What is your position?
I'm a weak atheist. I don't believe. I guess that's the word I just used. I don't believe in God, but I'm open-minded. So I'm an agnostic atheist, basically. I'm open-minded.
Agnostic atheist. Okay. So you are not making any positive claim in regards of the proposition that there is no evidence for any gods, or do you make any positive claim?
I don't make a. I guess the word positive. Yeah, I don't make a positive claim. I'm open-minded to there being a God. Basically, there could be one, for all I know.
Okay, so um, I am a theist. I am an evangelical Christian, and when I start a conversation with someone which doesn't believe in God, then I start. I like to start just making um, a scenario so we are on the same page. So either a deity, a creator exists or does not exist. Okay, so I would describe God as eternal, powerful, and conscious, and that there is no self contradiction in these terms in this description, so that is a possible proposition. So on the one side you have a creator, and the other you don't have. So that is a true dichotomy. Would you agree with that?
Could you define what a dichotomy is? Because I kind of forgot what a
It
dichotomy
is either something is or it is not. So
is.
there
Oh,
are just two possibilities here.
that makes sense. Yeah. As I said, I'm open-minded, so I like to listen to this. It's either is or isn't a God, really. This either is or isn't.
Okay. So the second point is, it makes no sense for anyone to ask me to prove God's existence because we are talking about a being which supposedly exists beyond the physical universe. So I cannot prove to you God's existence at the same time as you cannot prove to me that the physical natural world is all there is. So that's irrelevant. What we want to know is what is the best explanation for our existence, or um,
Well,
uh, yeah.
there might be some physical evidence of God because he interacts with the world supposedly, or she, or whatever. God interacts with the world according to theists. So there actually could be some physical evidence that someone could provide. That would be really cool because God supposedly could take form on the occasion. If God wanted to appear as a dog, he could appear as a dog. He could appear as a rat. He could appear as an elephant. He could appear as a can of beans if he wanted to. That's what I remember them saying.
Well, all I'm saying at this point is that the philosophical approach to elucidate which proposition that makes more sense is abductive reasoning to the best explanation. So we are not trying to prove or disprove God's existence. We just try to figure out which of the two propositions is the most case adequate one. Are you with me in this?
It's a little confusing. Hold on a second. So I guess I so earlier you said I agree there's either gods or not, but I think I might know where you're going with this, but I can also just not know. Are you gonna say that creation requires a creator? Because I don't know if the world's a creation or not. Because I thought creation,
No,
the word is creator, and creator has to be intelligent.
what I am just elucidating here is my epistemological approach. So I don't ask you to prove your the proposition that the natural physical world is all there is, because nobody can prove that. And in the same time, um, any opponent, it makes no sense to ask me to prove God's existence because I cannot do that. All I can do is I can provide good reasons, in my view, good reasons why God is a superior explanation to our existence rather than none.
Huh,
Okay?
interesting. I'm open-minded. I like to hear evidences, or yeah, that's the word, evidences. Yeah.
Right. So, what we would need to know as well is what would constitute evidence of a creator, and then look around us, looking into the physical natural world, and see if we find the signature of intelligence that eventually in the past was acting to create the physical world.
Hmm.
So in other words, there are things that are the hallmark of intelligence where we know these things, there is only intelligence that can instantiate them, and we have never observed or seen that unguided random events can instantiate the same things. If you want, I can give you an example.
Are you talking about evolution when you say random things, like random processes?
Um, well, maybe we have to clarify here. When we are talking about evolution, we are talking about a supposed mechanism that was in place to diversify the living, which started when life started. So there was no evolution prior when there was the first self replicating living entity.
Uh, I think I may have misheard part of it. Did you say that evolution has to deal with the origin of life? Because evolution does not deal with the origin of life. It deals with the changing of populations of life.
Yeah, you need self-replication in order to have mutations, which then eventually can be selected for. So if you don't have self-replication, you cannot have evolution. That means that prior to the first self-replicating living entity, there was no evolution. So the origin of life and evolution are two separate things.
Interesting. We agree.
Okay. Okay.
Because
So
people like Ken Tovin will say, well, evolution's you got chemical evolution. I'm like, dude, it doesn't have anything to do with the origin of life. The word chemical evolution, I don't know. I don't even know why he'd use that besides to confuse people. But
yeah,
anyways,
just give me a minute, please. Yeah, I don't know what Kent Hovind says, but I think that he will agree that evolution wasn't a driving mechanism in order to progress from chemistry to the first self-replicating living entity. Okay.
Oh, you think okay? You don't believe that evolution has to do with the origin of life. I just want to clarify that you don't believe evolution it deals with the origin of life.
Well, it's not that I don't believe that. This is something which is a fact because in order to have evolution, you need self replicating entities which then eventually can mutate and can be selected or not, right?
Okay,
So,
Kent. Okay, you actually agree with me. Kent would disagree. He says there's 6 things to evolution, and I disagree because there's really just one or two. It's what you said: the replication, mutation, selection. That's really all it is. So we agree, actually.
well, the mechanisms they are natural select. There are mutations, natural selection, genetic drift, and gene flow. So these are the mechanisms which are supposedly acting um, in order to mutate and diversify the living. But before that, there was no evolution. So you cannot invoke evolution neither in regards of the origin of the universe, the laws of physics, the fine tuning, and the origin of life. So all
Yeah,
these
I agree. I agree.
things, all these things, they have nothing to do with evolution.
I agree. I agree. I don't think they have anything to do with evolution. The origin of life, the origin of planets, the origin of universe. They have nothing to do with evolution. So we're on track. We
Right.
agree.
Right. So, I know that the discourse and the debates, they are still very much surrounding evolution, but origins involves a much broader spectrum, which goes into these things which I just mentioned: physics, astronomy, um, chemistry, biochemistry, information science, which has to do with the origin of life, all these faculties. And all these things demand an explanation.
I so hold on. You said that our questions demand. Did you say what did you say? So what demands an explanation? Our questions that we said.
Well, the physical world in its entirety demands an explanation. Where does the universe come from? Where do the laws of physics come from? Where does the
Yeah,
fine tuning come from, which permits to have a life permitting planet Earth?
I
Where
don't.
does the yeah,
I don't know if I'd use the word fine tuning. There could have been. There could also not have been. I really don't know. But I forgot. What I was like, I'm sorry. If you watch my video where I talk to Kent Hovind, I actually forget things sometimes. But yeah, it's just that I just. So we're actually mostly on track. But let me think what I was gonna say. Crap. Could you rewind so I could remember? Because I'm sorry, I forget things.
just maybe to stick to fine tuning. This is not something which is up for debate. This is something which has been unraveled by scientists. It is not a quest anymore if the universe is fine tuned or not. We do know that there are hundreds of parameters which must be right in a very limited space in sequence space which permit a life permitting universe. And this
uh,
obviously demands an explanation. Like, I can give you an example: the expansion rate of the universe must be just right. If you have a too fast expansion, then you have a void universe. If the expansion is not fast enough, then you have the recollapse, and the universe would go back to the singularity. You would have no universe whatsoever.
Yikes. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but all I can say is, do you know that?
Well, I actually have several books published on Amazon. You can look up my name. I have also a book published on physics and astronomy, and I have there a list of 450 parameters which must be fine tuned in order to have a life permitting planet.
Are you sure that if the universe had stronger gravity, life just wouldn't just be shorter and more stocky and muscular?
Well, if you would have different gravity, then we wouldn't be here.
I
So
think
this is one of the parameters which must be fine-tuned.
Phantom X11. I think you. I'm not sure what you believe, Phantom X11. I don't know if you made a typo or not. If you, you can make another comment to clarify what you meant, because I thought you.
Yeah, I know what he's asking. He asks if the universe is the way it is based on physical necessity. That means that eventually it couldn't be different than it is. And if that would be the case, then the quest of fine tuning would be eliminated because there would simply be no other possibility than a life permitting universe. And I answer to this like this, just to give an example, okay? We know that stable atoms depend on the right quark configuration. So in order, for example, to have protons, you need two ups and one down. In order to have neutrons, you need two downs and one up. And this configuration is perfectly possible to be different. So you can have a different quarks configuration. And once you have that, you have no stable atoms and you have no stars, planets, and life. So
Oh,
there is absolutely no physical constraint that says that the universe couldn't be different. It could be perfectly different. And if it would be different, then either it wouldn't exist or it would be non-life permitting. Well, as I just said, because there are several constants which are not deeper grounded, like the fine structure constant. Physicists, they don't know why it has precisely the value it has because it's not deeper grounded. And once there is no explanation why it is not, how is it that it has the value it has while it is not deeper grounded, then of course that becomes the big question mark which physicists cannot answer because we are going into metaphysics. We are going into the realm which is beyond the physical universe. So the question becomes, why is the universe life permitting rather than not? Because it could be either non-life permitting or not exist at all.
I think I agree with Phantom here. Why? I don't know. I think earlier you hold on a second. How do you say your name? On Antologio?
Otangelo.
Otangelo, thank you. Um, I think you're just I think you made a mistake. Earlier you said this demands an explanation. I would love to hear an explanation of a lot of stuff, but I don't know if it demands an explanation. Like I don't know about that. But I would
Well,
love to hear it.
I mean,
And I don't know
the
why the
thing, the
wrong
thing
way
is,
always.
the thing is that first of all, we start to figure out what is, and then we try to find out where it leads to. Where does the evidence lead to? So, um, physicists and astronomers, they didn't expect to find a fine-tuned universe, and this started with Fred Hoyle, which figured out that the resonance to have carbon was also fine-tuned in the 50s, and from there on, then more and more fine-tuned parameters were unraveled and discovered.
Wait,
So this
what
wasn't
was the
something
first
that
fine tune? What was the first fine tune thing discovered? I forgot. Sorry.
it is the resonance of carbon C14.
So you know that was intelligently designed, basically.
Well, no, I cannot claim that I know that the universe is intelligently designed. All I can say is that upon the evidence that we have through science, it seems to me to be the best explanation.
I don't know because I mean I remember one atheist, or I think they were an atheist. I don't really remember for sure, but there's a person saying people are surprised to see that life only exists where it can exist, and it just got me thinking. Yeah, I mean, just because life exists only where it can exist, how does that prove intelligent design? So, do you think the world was made for us? Like it was made perfectly for us?
This is a criticism which very frequently comes up when someone brings up the fine tuning argument. So they say, um, well, this is a puddle argument because it's life that adapted to the universe and not the other way around. And my answer to this is if there was no fine tuning, there would be no universe. So you need to explain the initial conditions of the universe, which are fine tuned, the low entropy state, which started at the very beginning of the universe, and several parameters which need to be just right in order for you to have a universe at all, where then living entities can eventually emerge from. So that argument falls short right away, pointing this out.
I think you just assumed. I don't want to be rude. I hope this doesn't come off as rude. I think you just assumed that the universe had to have been fine tuned. I think a moment ago I thought of God of the gaps. Like, is that what you're? I don't know if that's what you're using.
Well, I can give you here an example. First of all, that the universe is fine tuned and has to be fine tuned in order to be able to permit life. This isn't something which is disputed. This is a scientific fact. We know that it is fine tuned. And if you want, I can give you some quotes. Like even Stephen Hawking admitted it, Martin Rees, and several, Paul Davies, and many other physicists. So this isn't in dispute. The question is, how do you explain the fact that the universe is fine tuned? And I can give you an analogy here. Let's suppose you find someone which wins the lottery, the state lottery, the Powerball lottery 100 times in a row. And then you have two possible explanations. One is that someone cheated, and the other that is that the guy had pure luck. What do you think would be a more plausible explanation for the fact that he won the Powerball game 100 times in a row?
I guess he cheated.
Yeah, that is the logical answer. Most likely he cheated, right? So he did set up the game. And now you can do the analogy in regards of the universe. You have 450, at least 450 parameters, which start with.
But we've seen people do stuff in the lottery. I think based on vague memory, we've seen people cheat, like they've admitted to it in court. But we've never seen a God exist, let alone make anything. Or we've never seen a God make anything, let alone exist. They're specific. Or at least I have.
Well, the thing is, the fact that eventually you cannot sense God with your senses, with your eyes, with your ears, with your taste and smell and so forth, that doesn't mean that he doesn't exist.
Oh, no, no. I don't mean that he doesn't exist. I mean that we can't use that. I'm just saying we can't say that we know it was designed. I must have misspoke.
Okay, so again, I am not claiming that that design is the true answer in an absolute sense. What I am claiming is that putting all the evidence, the scientific evidence in the natural world on balance, then at least it seems to me that intelligence design is the superior inference, and it is more plausible and logical rather than random events. And one example is precisely fine tuning. So I say this: what is the path to the cause. And if you see fine tuning and you have two possible options, one is that someone cheated, like in a lottery game, and the other that the guy just won, then, as you correctly stated, it is more plausible to believe that someone cheated. And I adopt that as an analogy to the state of affairs in the universe. You have 450 parameters at least, which need to be in a very limited range in order to have a life-permitting universe. Now, you have two possible explanations. One is that an intelligent, powerful creator had foresight and knew these parameters, the need for them in order to have life, and set it up. And the other is that random luck simply instantiated the right parameters. And I think that an intelligence rigging the game, let's say, is a more plausible explanation.
What if I think Phantom X11, the person right here, I think they said something earlier. Oh, they said they just posted a new comment too, but they said something about. Oh, no, I'll show the comment again. I think they said, "Why can't it just be a constant?" Okay, I'll show this thing now, new one. But yeah, their old comment. It made me think. I think I already thought of it myself. Why can't the universe just be eternal? Do we know it had a beginning? Because maybe it did. I don't study cosmology that much, and I don't do it much at
Yeah,
all.
let
I'm
me
more of a
first
biologist. No,
address
I'm not
his.
a biologist, but I study biology on the occasion. If that makes sense.
Yeah, let me first address his question, his point, then I will answer you in regards of the beginning of the universe. So, what science is claiming is that at the very beginning there was a unified force, which then transitioned to the four fundamental forces in the universe, which is the strong, the weak force, electromagnetism, and gravity. So once you have a transition, a phase transition from one unified force to four diverged forces, that means already that a change is possible. Okay, so that means that
I don't know if I don't know if the universe actually, I don't know how to explain this. I'll try my best. I don't know if the universe per se actually got new laws. Maybe it was just the laws. Maybe the laws already existed, and it's like this happened under this circumstance. If that makes sense.
well, the thing is, what our friend is trying to imply is that the universe could not be non-life permitting. Okay, that the fact that it is life permitting is based on physical necessity, that the state of affairs of the parameters could not be different. And this is easily refuted by the two examples, and there are many more, which showcase that these parameters could be different. And if they were different, then there would be no life in the universe.
You mean when you said the example was when you said one force turned into four forces after the universe expanded?
No, it's just about the fundamental forces. We know that they need to be fine tuned, and if the claim would be true that physical necessity wouldn't permit there to be different parameters, then we wouldn't have this phase transition from a unified force to the four fundamental forces. This is just an example. Another would be the temperature at the singularity, which had to be trillions of degrees, and it had to also to have the precise value of temperature. And if it would be different, then we wouldn't have probably stable atoms and no life as well. And there is no, and of course that the temperature that started the universe cooled down over a long period of time. So this is also a phase transition. So that demonstrates that these parameters, they are not fixed. They can change, and indeed they did change in the standard Big Bang model.
Hey, Phantom X11, would you like to join the voice chat? Would you like to join us? Phantom. Well, that stinks. Ontology. How do you say your name again?
Otangelo.
Ontangelo. Sorry. I guess we're alone. He doesn't want to join, or she, or whoever doesn't want to join. But what I would argue is, I think you're just assuming, and I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm just saying that I think you made a mistake in your thinking. And, bro, what? So sorry, my mom must be here. I don't have to go. I'm just saying she's here because that explains the dog's barking. But anyways, it's just that I don't think those are good arguments. I don't know how you know that it has to be fine-tuned. Not that doesn't mean it's not. Like it could have easily been fine-tuned. It could really easily been fine-tuned by a creator. In fact, I would say the stuff you mentioned isn't really as good as the fact that we have the books themselves from the holy books. I don't know if I've ever said this on air, but I met a guy at a park and I ended up thinking of something and I told it to him. So I remember Matt Dillahunty said something and I added to it. So Matt Dillahunty said, all the religions, they can't all be right, but they can all be wrong. And I added to it, what are the chances they're all wrong? Like, people wrote that stuff down. Oh, the person's backstage. Hold on, I might get to add them. But yeah, I just thought they could still be true. But I think these are bad arguments for them. Maybe I missed something, but I think you're just saying, well, it had to have been designed because if it wasn't designed, life couldn't exist. And I just thought, are you sure about that?
Sure about what is the question?
I think you're just not like, I don't think you're doing this on purpose. I think it just kind of happened. I think you assume that. I think you're just assuming that it must be designed, and it very well could have been designed by a god. I don't want to deny the possibility.
Well, no, Brock. I start with the evidence. I start with what is, and it demands an explanation. Either the physical universe, life, and consciousness were created by a creator or not. These are the two possibilities, as I said in the beginning. So the question is, which of the two fits best the evidence? And in order to answer this question, we would need to know what is the hallmark of design. What are the things that we know that only intelligence can create and that we have never observed that non-intelligence can also create? So there are things that we know intelligence can do that non-intelligence cannot do. And we need to know what these things are. And then based on that background knowledge, we can look into the physical world and then check if there are signatures of things which appear to be more related to design rather than not.
I think I see what you're saying, but it's like, it sounds almost like you're saying, almost in a way, that complexity means designer. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if we are talking about complexity, then maybe we should define what we mean by complexity.
Well,
And
I mean, that is kind of a subjective term, so
it's actually not. It is very well defined.
Okay, okay. Can you tell me what big or small is? Like, how big do you have to be big? What is a sauropod big? Is it tall? Because that must be subjective.
Well, you know, in intelligent design theory, there are maybe 4 or 5. How can I say? Legs or hallmarks, which are considered this is evidence of design. One would be specified complexity, the other irreducible complexity, the third would be fine-tuning, and the fourth would be foresight. There are more.
So irreducible complexity, that sounds like a young earth creationist argument. Are you a young earth creationist?
Yes, but this is not a young earth creationist argument. This is an intelligent design argument. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with young earth creationism.
Yeah, irreducible complexity could be old earth creationism or any kind of creationism.
Right. Yes.
So what is specified complexity?
Specified complexity is related to information theory, and for a layman or for someone that hasn't studied it, the easiest way to make it clear what the concept is, I always use this example. As profession, that's my profession, I'm a machine designer, and when someone comes and tells me, I need that you make a plan, a design, a blueprint for a machine for a specific purpose, then I will sit down on the table and I will create that blueprint, which has all the information, sizes, materials, parts, individual parts, how they have to be brought together, how they need to interlock in order in the end to have a machine which has a specific function. So that blueprint is based
Auntie
on
Alice, could you hold on a second?
specificity
My mom
and
has to say something.
complexity.
Could you hold on for? Could you two hold on for 1 second? I got it. My mom has to say something. I'll be another moment. My mom has she got me something. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry for the distraction, you two.
Yeah, so did you hear what I just said? Did you understand it? Or shall I repeat it?
If I understood you correctly,
Again, I heard some of you said, but I'm trying to forget because my mom got me some new shoes. They're on sale. I'm sorry. I'll be a moment. Just hold on. Okay, I'm back. So I'm so sorry, guys. This might have been a bad time to do this live stream, but it was really interesting. I might get to talk to you on the way home though. So don't hang up. I might still get to talk to you. Let's just keep going. So could you repeat what you said, Auntie-ology?
Otangelo.
Sorry.
Yeah. So if you see a blueprint with all the information to make a complex machine with all its parts, what materials is required, the individual parts, how they have to be brought together, how they interact, and so forth, that information is specified and complex. So from that comes the name specified complexity. So in a broad sequence space, you are basically constraining the possibilities, and the more constrained it is, the more information it bears.
Huh.
okay. And so in this analogy, I'm assuming you're talking about DNA.
Yes.
Okay.
Not only DNA, because we know that life stores a lot of epigenetic information as well. I have a list of over 200 different epigenetic codes and languages, which are also involved in organismal complexity construction.
Okay. So here's where that falls down for me as far as specified complexity is concerned. If blueprints reproduced with the more efficient designs or more functional designs reproducing more often, then you wouldn't have to have a designer do that. But they don't. But blueprints don't do that, and DNA does.
Well, first of all, self-replication is the epitome of complexity. We are, with all the technology and intelligence that we have put into constructing machines, we have not been able to create self-replicating factories. And the cell is indeed a self-replicating chemical factory. And before you can even talk about self-replication, you need to explain how such complexity could have emerged, and you cannot invoke evolution to explain its origin because evolution depends on self-replication.
Okay, so now you're talking about abiogenesis.
I don't think we
Yes,
have to explain anything.
Okay.
I just don't think the evidence you have lines up.
So, like for abiogenesis, we don't know, but that doesn't mean that a designer did it just because we don't know.
Well, I don't see the reason why we should stop, or why you or anyone should stop and say and throw the hands up in the air and say we don't know, when we actually can figure out what is the most case adequate explanation for the origin of self-replicating chemical factories, which cells are. And
Well,
we're not giving up. We're still trying to. Scientists are trying to study how things work.
yeah, I think that's still an active area of research. We haven't just said, oh, we can't figure it out. People are still trying to figure it out. I'm not, because I'm not equipped intellectually, or like I don't have like the physical tools necessary to do abiogenesis studies. But there are people that are doing that. And just because we don't have an answer now doesn't mean that it's inappropriate to say, well, it must have been designed.
Well, I have written a 3-volume book. You can look up my name on Amazon. It's called X-Ray of Life. It has over 1,900 pages. There, I list almost 2,000 different problems that are related to the origin of life. There, I tackle as well this question, and science has enough knowledge in order that we can actually um, make some well-based inferences of what might be the most plausible explanation for the origin of this complexity.
Okay, so give me one of those.
Well, as we are just discussing, the question here is, if we are looking at the blueprint, which has all the precise informations to make a machine which has a specific function, and then the quest is, if you see such a blueprint on the table and you have no idea where it came from, how it was made, what mechanism was involved, and so forth. So we know that agents with intelligence are capable to instantiate blueprints which then have all the information to make a machine with a specific function. We know by our own experience, I as a machine designer, I know by my own experience that through my intelligence, I'm capable to instantiate this. Now the question is an unguided random event eventually a worse or a superior explanation to explain the origin of the initial genome, which had to have a minimal amount of information in order to construct about 1,200 proteins, which is a minimal size to have a first self-replicating, free living cell. And
I
I would, and you
I
can actually make the calculations because we know what is involved.
I don't
Okay.
know if it was all random. It could have been predetermined for all I know by like physics.
So are you saying that DNA existed before the first self-replicating molecules? Let's assume, that we when we understand abiogenesis, which we don't, but let's say we did, and at that point DNA would have existed before the first self-replicating molecules.
Well, what we know is that all life forms that we know of, they have DNA as information storage molecule.
Okay.
Okay, so there is no life form known that doesn't use DNA. So DNA is one of the life essential molecules which are required in order to have life. Okay.
Okay.
So the question is, what explains the origin of the DNA and RNA molecule itself, and what explains the specified complex instructional arrangement or sequence of nucleotides which determine the make of proteins, which are the working horses of the cell. And you have basically two possible explanations. One is that intelligence was involved, and the other that intelligence was not involved. So the proposition that intelligence could have been involved is already possible, because we know by our own experience that intelligence is capable to instantiate instructional information. Now the quest is, have we ever observed that unguided random events can do the same? And if that is shown, would that be a more plausible explanation and mechanism rather than intelligence? That would be the question.
Okay. So we've never seen an intelligence create life.
Yeah, so my point to or my answer to this is this. If you have two phenomena, of which one the cause is obvious, and you have another phenomena which is equivalent, of which you don't know what the phenomena is, it is very difficult to attribute a different cause to that other phenomena of which you don't know which the cause is. So in regards of blueprints to make machines, we know that the cause is intelligence. In regards of DNA, which also stores instructional assembly information, but we don't know what in the past was involved to create life, then we are warranted to attribute the same kind of cause to that phenomena.
Okay, so you're talking about aliens.
No, I am just saying that if we have two propositions or possible causes, one is where intelligence is involved and the other where intelligence is not involved, in that scenario, we can say, since we know already that intelligence can make blueprints.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a hard time. I listened to part of what you say, but my mom and grandma have been kind of annoying. I'm about to go home. Maybe I maybe this was the wrong time to do a live stream. I was excited to talk about science. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, I can put you my.
So
yeah,
I mean, what I hear, Tangelo, is that you're telling me it was aliens.
No,
it had to be.
No, well, I did. Well, I didn't say aliens. I said only that intelligence is a possible cause because we know by
intelligence
our own
is a possible
experience.
cause.
Sure. Yeah. So we know that intelligence only comes from. We've never seen intelligence come from anything but a physical mind, and so it must have been aliens, right? That's following the same. Well, that's following the same logic you are. We haven't seen it, and we have not seen a disembodied mind, so it must be an embodied mind.
Well, I would say this. First of all, you would have to figure out for yourself if you think that intelligence is a superior explanation compared to random unguided events.
Personally, I don't know, but I don't think. I mean, but what I'm saying is your postulation that it was a god, because that is what you really do think, is on the same basis, on the same grounding as my postulation that there is some unknown, currently unknown self-replicating molecules that led to DNA being instantiated, because we've never seen either of those.
Well, the thing is, you have two possible competing propositions. One where intelligence was involved and in the other not.
Sure. And you have two competing propositions, one where it's an embodied mind and one where it's not.
That would be a subsequent discourse and eventual thing to elucidate. So I don't think it makes much sense to go to a subsequent topic if the first eventually hasn't been yet figured out.
Well, I don't think we're not going to figure out whether it was intelligence or not in this conversation. None of us are equipped to do that.
Well, I think we are, because I am already giving you a scenario and I think at least plausible reasons why I think that intelligence is not only a capable cause, but probably the best explanation for the origin of information stored in DNA. Because unguided events, I've not yet come to this, but we can actually calculate the odds, what it would take for unguided random events to instantiate the right sequences in order to have information-bearing molecule.
Okay, well, if you think you have the answer, then you should go talk to all the people that are studying, trying to figure out abiogenesis, and just tell them they're wrong. Because as long as there's an active field of study, I'm sorry, but you're not going to convince me that there is no chance that abiogenesis came by natural processes. Because the experts
well, First of all, the odds, they are known. There are scientific papers out there where this is all exposed. This isn't a secret. So those which work in the field, they exactly know what the odds are. Now, once this is known, in the end, it boils down to personal preference. Some believe that a natural cause is more plausible, and others don't.
Okay, so if we're not, I'm not equipped to make a judgment on either of those, and so I'm saying let's move on, because you're not going to convince me just because you're saying things when there are
Well, first of all, when I am in a dialogue with people, with unbelievers, and so forth, it is never my aim and neither my job to try to convince you of anything. Okay.
Okay.
All I am doing is I am exposing to you the reasons why I believe, and what you intend to do with my information, that's entirely up to you.
That's fair. I'm just saying what I'm saying is I'm not convinced by what you're saying, because you're not an abiogenesis expert. You're did you say a mechanical engineer?
Well, the question is, what is an expert? Okay. And I think that today, anyone has access to internet, to books, to scientific papers. So anyone can educate itself in regards of any scientific field. And you do not need necessarily to have a degree in order to say that you have studied the topic and that you understand what it is about.
There might be something to what you say, but it's still, when someone is, even if like there was someone who was studying abiogenesis and said it's impossible, but the rest of the field says, no, we still think there's something worth studying here, I'm going to go with the consensus.
Okay, so you are telling me that you're going with the consensus, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to go with the consensus.
So let me quote you here, Eugene Koonin. He is an expert. He has hundreds of science papers out there. He wrote a book on the origin of life in 2012. The name is The Logic of Chance, and he says the following: despite many interesting results to its credit, when judged by the straightforward criterion of reaching or even approaching the ultimate goal, the origin of life field is a failure. We still do not even have a plausible, coherent model, let alone a validated scenario for the emergence of life on Earth. Certainly, this is due not to a lack of experimental and theoretical effort, but due to the extraordinary intrinsic difficulty and complexity of the problem. A succession of exceedingly unlikely steps is essential for the origin of life, from the synthesis and accumulation of nucleotides to the origin of translation. Through the multiplication of probabilities, these make the final outcome seem almost like a miracle. Now, this guy isn't a creationist. He isn't a proponent of intelligent design. He is actually an atheist. He's a Russian scientist. And he comes to that conclusion, and he is very honest about that. And I can cite you several other researchers which work in the field of abiogenesis research, and they basically unisono come to the same conclusion.
Okay, so if he says it's impossible, which that didn't say it was impossible, it just said it's difficult. But let's say he did say it's impossible. If that's the case, then why is he doesn't believe in intelligent design?
Because people, they have their personal preferences. So there are people they want to live autonomously.
That's a cop-out. No, that's a cop-out.
That's true.
No, it's not. If someone is saying it's impossible for it to be natural processes, it has to be intelligent design. I would agree with that. But he, first of all, he didn't say it's impossible. He just said it's very difficult. And the fact that he doesn't change his stance on whether it's intelligent design or not says tells me that either you're taking him out of context or he didn't mean what you think he meant.
Well, there
Auntie
are
Ellen, Auntie
there
Ellen,
are
did you say
actually.
did that guy on that paper say that abiogenesis was unlikely? Because supposedly abiogenesis takes like 100 million years, so if you give enough time, there might be enough time for it to happen, right?
Well,
Yeah,
we don't.
time isn't actually something which is in favor of abiogenesis because molecules like ribose, they disintegrate in the time period of hours or even days. Okay, but you said, well, he didn't talk. It's impossible. So let me quote you here, Kenji Hikehara: evolutionary steps in the emergence of life deduced from the bottom-up approach and GADV hypothesis, the top-down approach from 2016. He says here, nucleotides have not been produced from single inorganic compounds through prebiotic means and have not been detected in any meteorites, although a small quantity of nucleobases can be obtained. It is quite difficult or most likely impossible to synthesize nucleotides and RNA through prebiotic means. It must also be impossible to self-replicate RNA with catalytic activity on the same RNA molecule. It would be impossible to explain the formation process of genetic information according to the RNA world hypothesis because the information is comprised of triplet codon sequence, which would never be stochastically produced by joining mononucleotides one by one. And he goes on. So already here, he said 3 times it is impossible. And I can tell you, and I can explain to you why he says that.
Okay, but so this guy is now an intelligent designer.
No, he's not.
Why not?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
connected to the car.
I think so. Otangelo,
Oh. Never mind.
I think you're either misunderstanding or taking him out of context, because if he's not following through with what he's saying, then it doesn't make sense to me that what you're claiming he's saying is what he's saying.
You know, scientists, they have this mind. Whatever is natural has to be naturally explained. And since the supernatural isn't natural, you cannot invoke supernatural explanations for natural phenomena. And based on that, the supernatural is a priori excluded from the explanatory framework of origins. This is what modern science is based on. It is based on philosophical and methodological naturalism, which started in the 1900s with the X Club and Thomas Huxley. So when someone is raised with that mindset since young age, God is simply excluded, and when a natural cause cannot be invoked, then it remains simply an open question. But the jump to say eventually an intelligent cause was involved is something which many simply do not want to do. They prefer to confess themselves as agnostics rather than to become theists.
So what you're saying is there's no scientist that believes in anything supernatural?
No, what I am saying that there are many which acknowledge the problems in regards of the origin of life, but nonetheless they have not the courage to say, well, it seems to us that eventually an intelligent designer is a superior explanation, and they just keep the quest in standby.
And why do you think they're doing that?
Well, my personal opinion is that it isn't just an issue of rationality, but also of will and morality.
Of will and morality?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that when we are
sorry. Let me clarify. I understand what the question of will is. What do you mean by the question of it's a morality? What's that? What do you mean?
What I mean by that is that when we are going into the metaphysical, into the quest of ultimate origins, then there are people which simply prefer to live an autonomous life rather than to believe that there is a deity up there which eventually dictates morals and ought to be's.
Gotcha. But if we're going to abiogenesis, like I presumably these people that are saying abiogenesis is impossible still believe that like Luca exists, correct?
Okay, Luca is a framework which has been hypothesized by Charles Darwin. And
Hold on. I don't need you to explain what Luca is. I asked you, these people that say abiogenesis is impossible, do they still believe in Luca?
well, the majority of secular scientists, they go with the mainstream framework of Luca and the tree of life. Yes.
Okay. So, and is it possible that we could have an intelligent designer that didn't impose morals, that just designed Luca?
Yes. There is no logical contradiction in the proposition.
Okay. So I don't think the moral question is any part of the reason why they would say there's not intelligent design, because you could have an intelligent designer that you could have like I said earlier, you could have aliens that did intelligent design, or you could have a god that started Luca and just, blew off after that and doesn't care about anything after that.
Maybe you misunderstood me. You asked me, why do these people recognize and acknowledge that life from non-life by unguided means is not possible, but nonetheless they remain non-believers? That's what you asked me, right?
No, I asked you that, and you answered with morals, and I said, why? What do you mean by morals? And I'm saying that, I'm just pointing out, I don't think that would be a reason, because there's plenty of potential intelligent designers that would have make no moral obligations on us. So that would be it.
I actually know intelligent design proponents which are atheists and believe that aliens seeded life on Earth.
Sure. Okay. And so all I was saying is that the moral part, or getting to the claim that it's because of morality, is I don't think that would be a strong reason.
Yeah, that's my personal opinion. But anyway.
Okay. Well, I think I don't think we're going anywhere with the specified complexity. What were those other three legs that you said intelligent design stands on?
There is irreducible complexity, fine-tuning, and foresight.
Okay, let's talk about foresight. What do you mean by that?
By foresight, I mean that there are things in the natural world where you need foresight in order to recognize that there is a problem in front of you, and you need to know what you need to instantiate in order to address that problem. And I can give you an example. All life requires error detection and correction mechanisms, in as much as of DNA, as well as in the translation process in the ribosome, and in many different processes in the cell. They need constantly to be error checked, monitored, and then when an error occurs, it has to be quickly solved. Otherwise, there would be an error catastrophe and the cell would immediately die. It couldn't replicate with sufficient fidelity in replication, and life could not proceed. And the proposition is that in order for you to instantiate these mechanisms, there has to be foresight. You need to know in advance that this is a problem, and you need to know what is necessary in advance to instantiate the mechanisms to solve the problem.
When it comes to abiogenesis, wasn't Earth like very full of chemicals that could help start life? Wasn't like full of water and like chemicals, and it was very hot, like very warm? Isn't that what they said? Did I miss something?
Yeah, well, it is proposed that the prebiotic Earth had all kinds of chemicals, And obviously, the chemicals, in order to make the macromolecules which are required for life, they were there, like oxygen and nitrogen and hydrogen and so forth, and carbon, of course, and the heavier atoms and metals which are essential, iron, sulfur, and so forth. So of course they were there, and yeah, that is also a big problem, because there was no selection to select out those um, um, parts which are necessary in order to make the four basic blocks of life.
How, sorry, you said there's no selection to, why wouldn't there be selection?
Well, why would there be selection?
Well, okay, so let's say we have this self-replicating molecule. We have 10 self-replicating molecules. And some of them replicate better than the others. That would be selection.
Yeah, there were no self-replicating molecules. The RNA hypothesis and the claim that eventually a self-replicating RNA and enzymes would have populated the prebiotic earth, that is something that has never been demonstrated in the lab. It is a hypothesis which has become popular in the 1980s, and even in 2020, it has not been corroborated that it is possible that there were self-replicating RNAs prebiotically. So this is a hypothesis which has so far failed to be confirmed scientifically.
Yeah. How long was it before we confirmed black holes existed? From when they were first postulated?
I have no idea.
Okay. I remember the first, like the the formula that led to black holes was like in the 30s or 40s, but they were never confirmed until the 70s. So there's
Okay.
so like the fact that it's still a hypothesis just doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, we were still looking for black holes and we just never found one. And I've heard, I don't know this for sure, but the first thought that black holes, something like a black hole, like too much a gravity well that was so massive that light couldn't escape, was back in like the 1800s or so. But I'm not sure on that. As sure on that. But so like the age of a hypothesis and it not being confirmed doesn't mean anything really. It's until it's disconfirmed or something else contradictory is confirmed. That's when the hypothesis is let go.
Yeah. First of all, you are comparing two different things. You cannot compare cosmology to biochemistry and to chemistry. That would be the first thing. Secondly, saying, well, the hypothesis is there, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, but who knows, in the future, scientists will figure it out. That would be a naturalism of the gaps argument.
No, that's not what I said. I said it hasn't been disconfirmed.
Well, first
he's saying it could be true. He's saying it could be true.
Well, before you even talk about disconfirming, you need to have evidence that these molecules could self-replicate, and there is actually very, very strong evidence that this will never happen, and I can give you good reasons for that.
So you're saying it has been disconfirmed?
In my book, yes.
Okay, but in the consensus of the field, it has been.
Well, the consensus in the field is simply what the evidence shows, and the evidence, I mean, I can read it for you what they are saying. Okay, just a minute.
You've written two quotes. I'm not interested in quote mines.
Okay, so even today, nobody has over 40 years has confirmed that RNAs can self-replicate without a template on their own.
Okay, so they've disconfirmed. The consensus of the field is that abiogenesis has been disconfirmed.
The consensus in the field is that nobody knows or doesn't even have a plausible model of how random chemicals could have complexified by themselves without guidance to become self-replicating living cells.
Okay, so again, the consensus of the abiogenesis field is that abiogenesis has been disconfirmed. Yes,
If you want, you can. I mean, they keep
that's what
trying.
you're saying.
But they keep trying, but so far nobody has brought up a model that is even theoretically plausible, possible, and much less confirmed in the lab.
Okay, that's not the same. That's not what I'm asking.
Auntie, are you sure about that? Are you sure that it's not even possible that it could be abiogenesis?
Well, I can give you the statistics, and then you can make up your mind about it. I mean, I know what the odds are.
I don't care about the odds, because odds don't prove anything.
Well, I think they do. I think actually they are extremely important in order for you to figure out the situation.
I disagree, because, like, okay, let's go back to your lottery example. So if a guy won the lottery 3 times in a row, you'd say he's probably cheating?
I mean, it would be already extremely unlikely that he would win the lottery 3 times in a row. But the more he wins it, I mean, then the less the chance is that he didn't cheat. So if one wins 3 times, it's extremely unlikely. If he wins 20 times in a row, it's even less likely. If he wins 100 times in a row, even less. If he wins 500 times in a row, then we are close to chance of 0.
Okay, let's say a guy wins 1,000 times in a row, right?
Uh-huh.
But every single time he bought every single possible ticket. Is he cheating?
That would be a possibility, and then it would be more likely that he eventually wins.
Well, I mean, if you bought every possible ticket, he would win every time.
Okay, but let's put the scenario here that he just buys 1 ticket.
Well, no, I'm not going to. No, that doesn't work, because you're saying that the chances of life beginning are so low that it couldn't happen. And I'm saying there's uncountable chances for life to begin, so that it begins, the probability that it begins somewhere is 1.
Okay, so let me answer to this. The chance of all possible states in the universe in its entire history, let's suppose that the history is 13.8 billion years, and you multiply that by the number of atoms and by the number of possible interaction states and changes, that number is 1 to 10 to the 119th power. So there couldn't be more different states than this number in the entire history of the universe. 1 to 10 to the 119th power. That can be calculated.
We don't know how many atoms are in the universe.
We can work with 10 in the power of 80.
We don't know. No, we don't. We can't. We have no idea how many atoms are in the universe.
Okay, so what we know, what the guess is in the known universe is about 1 to 10 to the 80th power, the number of atoms.
Oh, sure. We know how
we can work with that.
We have an idea of how much is in the observable universe, for sure. We don't know how much, but that we don't know how much bigger or not bigger at all the unobservable universe is. So we do not have a concrete number for how many atoms are in the universe.
Yeah, sure. We don't have, but we can work with the number.
No, we
can work with the number.
No.
Okay.
No, because if, let's say, the universe is 10 to the millionth times the size of the observable universe. It could be, we don't know. The universe, no matter where life begins and intelligence arises from that life, their observable universe is going to be the size that ours is. Because
okay, let's work with an infinite number of possible states.
Okay.
Okay, let's work with that. So what would happen is this. First of all, you need a set of 4 macromolecules, which are the basic building blocks of life.
Hmm.
Okay. Then what you have is entropy working in the universe. That means things go from hot to cold, from organized to disorganized. What we observe is always this direction. Okay.
No, no. Well, okay. So entropy doesn't always work in a direction. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. It stays. It's conserved. But we're talking about an infinite number of states. In an infinite number of states, it happens every time, at least
Well,
once.
what we observe in our daily experience is that things go from organized to disorganized, and
Yeah.
what has been shown in the lab, and there are scientific papers, is that molecules left to their own, they do not spontaneously complexify, but they disintegrate to become asphalt.
Okay, but
Doesn't the things
But-
go from complex to simple only apply in a closed system or something? I have a vague memory of a response to that.
but like, so that's not always the case though. Like, there are places in the universe where there's pockets in the universe where entropy decreases. Now, overall, the entropy does increase, but there are pockets where it decreases.
Yeah, let
Without-
me remind you that what we try to find out is not an answer in an absolute sense, but we want to find out where the evidence is leading to. And for that, we have science, which makes experiments and then says, look, we have made this and that experiment, and always we got that result. And in regards of molecules, there is a paper from Steve Banner. It's called Paradoxes in the Origin of Life. And one is the asphalt paradox. And it says that all scientific experiments that have been done in the lab show that molecules left on their own, they do not spontaneously complexify. They disintegrate. They become asphalt.
They become asphalt.
Asphalts, yes.
Like what we have in a road. Is that what you're saying? Or is that some term that I'm not familiar with?
They become random tar.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that, but I still like. So,
I mean,
if it hasn't
if you
been,
want the paper, I give you, and then you study it afterwards. I mean, I'm not making things up here.
yeah, I'm not. I don't think you're making things up. I don't think you are. It's just I don't understand. Like, so this paper is put out, but if it doesn't disconfirm the abiogenesis hypothesis, because the field is still an active study, they haven't said, oh no, it's just impossible, therefore we're going to stop studying it. They're still trying to find out.
Yeah,
So-
they are still trying to find out. I agree with you on that. But as I told you, in my books, I have a list of close to 2,000 problems. And instead of diminishing the problems based on the scientific progress, these problems, they are piling up because science shows that there are more and more levels of complexity which it wasn't accounted for previously because science didn't know about this state of affairs. And now, since it knows it, it shows that the complexity and the organization has to be far bigger than what has been previously thought. And the direction, rather to come closer to explain how unguided events could explain the origin of life, science with its progress is showing that the problem becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that if it's impossible that we still have people trying to figure it out. Because like,
well, you know, that has a lot to do with funding, because if you come up with the conclusion it isn't possible, then it's hard for you to get funding in order to keep doing scientific research and spending money. Okay.
I don't know. I think the argument from conspiracy is probably not the greatest one. Not a great
I
argument.
think this is one of the reasons why scientists which work in the field, they will never simply give up, raise hands, put hands in the air, in the arms in the air, and then say, well, it cannot be explained. Let's just move on. I don't think they will do that because they would lose their job.
Okay. I like I said, I think argument from conspiracy is not a great argument. I
No,
don't.
it's not an argument from conspiracy. I think it's it's actually not even an argument. It's the state of affairs. You need to have good reasons to continue making scientific investigation. And if you are just saying, well, life from non-life by unguided means is not possible, then you are just basically giving up.
Okay. Okay, so can you we got sidetracked on the foresight thing. Can you remind me what your example was?
My example was that even the most rudimentary and simple cell for life to start needs to have mechanisms for monitoring and error checking and then repair DNA and RNA translation, replication, and many different other processes which need to be very, very precise and in a very constrained parameter range. And if these mechanisms were not in place, then the error rate would be far too high. The mutations would be so high that life could not continue to prevail. It would go very fast extinct. So in order for you to have these mechanisms, you need actually to first know what the state of affairs is which is correct, what the state of affairs is which is not correct, and then what is required to detect and to repair when something goes havoc in order to re-establish a state of affairs which is functional. And for that, you need foresight.
Okay, and this exists in DNA?
Yes, there are many different error check and repair mechanisms, not only in regards of DNA, but also in regards of translation, the ribosome, transcription, RNA polymerase, DNA polymerase, and replication, and many other different error detection and repair mechanisms. Also, in regards of proteins, there are chaperones which bring the polymer strings into the right shape, into the right 3D configuration. This has to be set up before life starts. If you have proteins which are not folded correctly, they will not operate, and they will be non-functional and actually even be toxic for the cell. So you need chaperones from the beginning, and that indicates foresight. You need to know that there would be a problem if chaperones wouldn't be instantiated in order to bring proteins to the right shape.
Okay, so the issue I see with that is, and I know you don't agree, but if abiogenesis is what happened, the earliest things that led up to the first life, because abiogenesis isn't like an event, it's a process. If it happened, the error checking could have, there's no reason, I don't see any reason that the error checking couldn't have developed through mutations of whatever was before life. I'm not sure I buy that argument. Do you have another example of where foresight might?
Well, the thing is that these mechanisms, they are based on proteins, and proteins are made through DNA. So that raises a problem which is circular complexity or an interdependent state of affairs where everything needs everything. So, in order for you to have proteins which perform DNA error check and repair, you need actually DNA which encodes the information to make these proteins. So the question is, what came first? Because you need both at the same time. There is no life known which doesn't have error check and repair mechanisms instantiated.
Right, but we're dealing with life today, where those error checking
I
mechanisms.
I couldn't hear you both for like about. So wait, guys, I'm about to get my stuff. Okay, I was for about 2 minutes because my mom and grandma talked to me. I'm sorry. Could you guys repeat that again?
Otangelo was talking. I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, so the problem is that there are many different states of affairs in the cell where everything needs everything in order to work, to operate. So, in order for you to have error check and repair proteins, you need actually the information stored in DNA, which dictates the making of these proteins. But if these proteins weren't there, then you would have hydrolysis and several other kind of problems which would deteriorate the DNA.
All right, I can
and,
back.
And if you
I'm
don't
at my
have
apartment, so
mechanisms,
just so y'all know.
and if you don't have
Is
the
the
mechanisms to
is it
repair
cutting
it,
out? Because I can't seem to hear y'all. Hello?
yes, can you hear us?
Hello, Brock. Can you hear us? Brock?
Can you hear us?
Hey, Brock. Can you hear us? Hello. Okay, then. Well, I guess I'm the one on the show today.
Are you guys still there?
Yeah, we're still here. Can you hear us? Check your hair. Now I'm back. Brock?
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you the whole time. You couldn't hear us, and you still can't, apparently. Hello? Let me try typing it.
This is bad. I can't seem to hear them. Sorry for the one people who watch.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear us?
He hasn't had given any indication that he can hear us yet. I just put in the private chat saying, because although at one point he was saying, can you hear me? So I'm not sure what's going on. This problem with the StreamYard, we're using the phone, I think.
Okay.
It's not as reliable as using it on a computer. So I mean, I'll admit I'm not as knowledgeable about these things as you are, but it just seems to me like
I can't hear you guys. I'm sorry.
It seems like symbiotic relationships do develop, and so like
try turning your mic and camera on and off. Well, Phantom, you don't have to do your camera. Turn your microphones on and off.
Okay.
Could you turn your microphones on and off?
I just did. Can you hear us?
This is embarrassing. Okay. Maybe I should start a new live stream. I'm not really sure though.
Otangelo?
Yes.
You said you had that paper. There was one paper that you said you could have a link. I forget what it was. It was
Stephen Banner, Paradoxes in the Origin of Life.
yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. Could you
Yeah, I can send it to you. Just give me a minute.
yeah, I appreciate that.
I can't hear y'all.
You cannot hear us?
Crap.
No, I don't think he can hear
It's
us.
really bad.
And now his video's frozen too. Thanks for that. I'll take a look at that.
Try saying something again.
I'm talking. Can you hear me? I'll take a look at that Otangelo.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably winding down because of technical issues, and I need to go eat lunch anyway. But it's been a great talk. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Cool.
Hopefully, we can have a talk some other time. I'm not big
Yeah,
on.
I'll leave my email address with Brock, and then he can set up another opportunity, and you can continue the conversation.
Sure. We'll see. I just came across Brock the other day. I actually wasn't even sub to him. I was over in Chris's chat, and I saw him post a link. I was like, oh, I'll just see what this is about. Because I don't know about you guys, but I am so over Kent. It's always the same stuff with him.
Oh yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, he unfortunately